ultimately, employee turnover is costing the US trillions of dollars. And she was mentioning that they have gotten into the habit of vacancy hiring versus mission hiring. I'm not talking about some manufactured BS type of stuff. I'm talking about authentically and sincerely helping people understand their value and their impact. Organizations improve when people improve. People improve when leaders improve. I do not give a shit when my people work. I really don't. What I care about is the ultimate results. But if you set it up as opportunity, not obligation, you will reduce the less efficiency, you will reduce just the time wasted, and you will drive better results. Stop losing top talent. It's 2025. What are you doing today to make sure that you're creating a strong working environment, a strong culture that drives retention and sets up your organization and your people for the highest probability of success? I'm Chad Carden, founder of the Carden Group, and over the past 2.5 decades, I have shared these ideas across the globe that have evolved into what organizations need to do today that help set them up for the highest probability of success to increase their retention, increase their people, and more importantly, drive the results that they're looking to drive on a daily basis. Let's jump into this. If you look at today's environment, it is a very dynamic environment. The landscape is forever changing, right? Organizations today ultimately have to sometimes just fill seats. I was working with one of the CEOs of an organization just yesterday, and she was mentioning that they have gotten into the habit of vacancy hiring versus mission hiring. There's a big difference. When we vacancy hire, we're just looking to fill seats. And listen, I get it. Sometimes you just have to put bodies in seats to do the jobs that you need them to do. But there's a big gap between just hiring for vacancy and hiring for mission. And I think that's one of the first things that you have to look at in your organization to create a culture of retention and to make sure you're retaining top talent is who are you bringing in the door? Who are those people that you're bringing in the door? And are you bringing the right people for the right seats that will allow you to move your organization and the results forward? So thinking about that, that's one of the items to really, really think about, is thinking about the difference between just vacancy hiring versus mission hiring. Let me give you a couple other ideas that are really strong when it comes to retention. The first thing is how are you creating a foundation for your people to be successful? Zig always used to say that people don't build organizations, they first build people, and those people build organizations. So how are you improving the performance of your people that will ultimately take your organization where it is you want to go? Well, how do we do that in today's world, right? Again, the landscape is changing. This generation may be different than your generation, or maybe different than the generations in the past. So one of the very first things that you need to think about is, do you truly understand your people? Do you understand what we call their wins? Do you understand their wants, their interests, their needs? As leaders today, our number one role should be to understand what our people want, what they're interested in, and what they need, and help them fulfill that. If we can set them up for success and make sure that they are fulfilled and engaged, it leads to a myriad of positive dominoes and a ripple effect that will improve retention and will improve the results that you're looking to improve. We do that through what we call GCG conversations, which I know I've talked about a lot, but these GCG conversations really get into what are some ways that your people want to grow? How do they feel like they contribute in their role and the value that they add? And what are some of their goals? Once I'm tapped into that, I really believe that that's kind of, you get an inside look to those individuals and you really begin to understand how to work with them to set them up for success. Another topic is talking about how are you continuously, intentionally building stronger working relationships? How are you driving more trust, more respect, more rapport in these relationships? When we walk into organizations, here's what we find. We find that people work together, but they're not truly working together. So how do you create those stronger working relationships? I'm not saying you have to be friends. I'm not saying you shouldn't be friends. I'm just saying you don't have to be friends. It's about how, when you're working together, is there the highest level of trust, respect, and rapport that allows you to truly collaborate and drive in a direction that drives the results that you're looking to drive in the organization. So thinking about that strong working relationships is an anchor point to building a culture of retention and to making sure you're keeping the people that you truly want to keep. Another level of that is engagement. How are you creating a flexible situation for your people that drives what we call opportunity mindset, not obligation mindset? Opportunity mindset says I get to. Obligation mindset says I have to. Now, I'm not saying this is Cloud 9 Disney World, everything's perfect. Don't misunderstand me. There's always, Adam Carroll, my good friend, always says that there's always a 20% suck factor in any role, any job, any career. There's always that piece to it. However, how are you ensuring that whatever your people are doing is opportunity for them that, again, helps move them and the organization forward? It really is a win-win situation. And when you're looking at that engagement, how are you making sure that that's an ongoing conversation, right? Because the landscape changes, sometimes the role changes, sometimes their attitude and their outlook change. And so it's a continuously ongoing conversation as you're looking at that engagement. Another anchor point is fulfillment. How are you making sure that they truly understand the value and impact that they bring every single day? I'm not talking about some manufactured BS type of stuff. I'm talking about authentically and sincerely helping people understand their value and their impact. And that comes with recognition. That comes with appreciation. That comes with giving and receiving feedback. There's a lot of different things that we can do, but I would say that most of the time when we're working with organizations, those things are not present because they're just not comfortable. They're not part of the DNA. They're not part of the habit. Organizations say they give recognition and they say they give appreciation, but sometimes it's more check the box than it is authentic and sincerely showing up that allows the fulfillment to show up that helps impact the person's outlook and their ultimately motivation and inspiration to stay and give you their best every single day to drive the results that you're looking to drive. So when it comes to retention, you got to look at those things. You got to look at those anchor points. You got to look at strong working relationships. You got to look at engagement. You got to look at fulfillment. And you also have to create what we call a shared experience, which I mentioned a little bit earlier, but let me double click on this for a second. So a shared experience is where your people feel like they have a voice. It's not just about saying they have a voice, it's showing them that they have a voice. That doesn't mean that you take every idea and you vet every idea and everything that comes through, you have to sit down and talk about it and collaborate. That doesn't mean that. That just means that they feel that when it's their expertise or when it impacts them, they feel like they have a voice. Here's something to think about to ensure people have a voice. Number one, make it comfortable. Number two, answer all the opportunities and all the questions and all the comments that come through your organization. A lot of times people get what we call idea fatigue, right? They'll throw out all these ideas and nothing will come from them. So if you're gonna have a suggestion box or an idea box or some sort of avenue where your team members can give ideas, make sure you close the loop on those ideas. Typically it comes down to one of three things. Might be a good idea. We might wanna think about implementing it. It might be a good idea, but it's just not in the cards right now, right? Maybe we revisit it in 6 months. Maybe we revisit it in 12 months. Or it might be an idea that's never gonna happen. Again, I might not appreciate that answer, but at least you're open, you're honest, and I can appreciate that you actually looked at it. So making sure that shared experience that they really feel like they have a voice. Number two, are they informed? Do they really feel like they have the information they need to understand the what, the why, and the impact to them? That's key. That's vital because if you don't give them that information, they will make up all these different scenarios, and probably most of those scenarios are not correct. So are you giving them the information they need to understand? Again, I don't have to agree with it. I don't even have to like it, but if I understand it, at least I can grasp it and understand where you're coming from and your point of view. If you never give me that, I'm gonna make up my own, again, I'm gonna make up my own scenarios that are probably gonna go in 1,000 different directions, and 80% of them are probably gonna be negative, which have no reality to the actual situation. And the last part of a shared experience is that we live in the consequences together. So we're truly working together to drive the results. Consequences aren't always bad. If there's things that happen that are bad, then we can live with it because I feel like I have a voice, I feel like I was informed, and I can manage and maneuver through it easier. Not easy, nothing's easy, but I can manage through it easier. Sometimes when the consequences are good, we celebrate, we recognize, and we move things forward. These are all pieces of a world-class retention culture. Another item to think about, now that we're throwing it out there, is your compensation package. What does your compensation look like? And I'm not just talking about money. Yes, you have to be fair to the market, fair to whatever those roles and responsibilities are. You have to be able to compete with that. But there's a lot more of a compensation package than just the actual salary and benefits. It comes down to, are you providing them an opportunity to feel comfortable in their role? Are you giving them confidence in the results that they're getting? Are they competent in their role? And are you growing and developing them? Do they like the people that they work with? Again, I'm not saying we have to be friends, but is there an environment where they're coming into that they have the highest probability to be successful because that environment supports their role, supports the working relationships, and again, drives the results that you're looking to drive. So thinking about a compensation package. I know people today, I was just talking to a team member within an organization about 3 weeks ago. She actually said she took a pay cut because the working environment was so toxic, right? And she just wasn't comfortable walking in there. It had nothing to do with the pay. It had everything to do with the quality of her work-life balance and the quality of the environment that she lives in. So when thinking about compensation, what are you doing to set that up for success? Yes, money's a factor, certainly, but there are other variables that you need to think about when it comes to compensation. All of this comes down to one thing. I said it before, but organizations improve when people improve. People improve when leaders improve. So if you want to leverage your leadership and to maximize their talents, make sure that you have a leadership development ongoing initiative that allows them to be successful, to have the right tools at the right time, in the right situation, with the right individual to set that leader up for success, to create those things that I just talked about that will allow you to create a retention culture, keep your top talent, and more importantly, encourage top talent to come in that front door. So what are you doing? What are you doing in 2025? Are you leaving it up to old tactics? Are you just kind of checking the box with some of these things? Or are you really being intentional about setting your organization up for the highest probability of success with the culture, with the results, and the ongoing growth and development that create win-win scenarios? Win for your people, win for your organization. You do that, ultimately, even by accident, you're going to be even more successful. So I offer 2 ebooks that go into these comprehensive strategies of how to set up a world-class culture and how to retain top talent in today's dynamic environment. I'll put the links down there. I encourage you to download them, spend some time in them, and pick out the things that you really believe are practical and tactical in your world and begin implementing them. Let's just look at some of these stats. I mean, here's the deal. Here's reality. Ultimately, employee turnover is costing the US trillions of dollars. I've got some stats right here that are just mind-blowing. The cost of replacing an employee is almost 2x. Some surveys say 1.5, some surveys say 2x their annual salary. So just to replace somebody, again, it goes back to that hiring versus, making sure that you're putting the right people in the seats and that you're retaining them and setting them up for long-term success. Over 70% of employees say that they would stay longer at a company. 7 out of 10 say they would stay longer at a company if they had more opportunities for learning, development, and growth. So they're just not stagnant. What are you doing to help them grow, develop, and live into their wants, interests, and needs, and live into the GCGs? 69% of employees say that they would work harder if they felt the efforts were better recognized. That goes back to appreciation and recognition. That goes back to what are we doing to authentically and sincerely help people understand their value and the impact that they have through those appreciation and recognition channels. And then 76% of employees say they were more likely to stay with a company if it offers more flexible work options. That goes to the engagement. At the end of the day, it's not about time. It's about results. Right? Everybody wants to look at an 8 to 5. We have to get out of that mentality. What are people doing? Whether they work 4 hours a day or 14 hours a day, what are they doing to get the things done that they need to get done that help drive those results? And creating choice for people, creating that flexibility. That's one thing that I really pride ourselves on in my organization. I do not give a shit when my people work. I really don't. What I care about is the ultimate results. We have a nice fancy office. People can come to it. People have the office, but they can work from home. They can work from the beach. They can work from their car. They can work wherever it is. It does not matter. It's not about 40 hours a week. It's not about 8 hours a day. It's about ultimately, here's the ask, and are you producing that ask? And if you are, whatever, if you get done in 3 hours, you get done in 3 hours. I know I have that luxury and some of you don't that I'm talking to right now. However, I would challenge that mindset. Like if you're done in 3 hours and you're done by 10 o'clock, go take a nap, go spend time with your kids, go golfing, go do a hobby, go shopping, go do whatever the hell you want to do. But ultimately it's about the results that you lead. And I think challenging ourselves to look at those flexible options can really help create that engagement and drive that fulfillment that allows the top people to actually stay and get the results that you're looking to get. So are you looking at those stats? Are you impacting those stats? What are some of those things that you can do that will help move those stats in a positive direction for your organization? So let's double click a little bit on the time versus results thing. I was talking to a former employee of an organization that I will not mention, but I don't believe that this is a departure from the norm from a lot of organizations. Let's say it was an 8 to 5 day. What he observed is the majority of people at 4:40-ish, maybe 4:45, literally we're looking at the clock, tick, tock, tick, talk for that 15 to 20 minutes until that clock hit 5 o'clock. That is, number one, that's sad, in my opinion. When you're just sitting there, just trying to watch the clock so you can check out at 5 o'clock, number one, that's sad. Number two, think about if 100 people are doing that, or however many people in your organization, times that times 20, how much lost productivity do you really have? Because it's not opportunity, it's obligation. Right? And so ultimately, what are you doing to remove that obligation and just allowing people to maybe 30 minutes before or 20 minutes before just to pack up and then just wait and do nothing? It doesn't help with engagement. It doesn't help with fulfillment. It sure as hell doesn't help with your results. That's something to think about when you're looking at flexible work options. So if you have that happening in your organization, again, here's the challenge. Rethink what's possible. Just let them leave. Right? Just whenever they're done, let them leave. Again, I know everybody can't have that flexibility. And the other thing about work life or work at home is people think they take advantage of it. Maybe. But what can you do in your environment to give them that choice or that option? So if they're just sitting there at 4:30 and it's 5 o'clock's the time to check out, just let them leave. Now, I know the other argument says, well, now at 4, they're going to be packing up. Listen, there's some sort of monitoring to this, but if you set it up as opportunity, not obligation, you will reduce the less efficiency. You will reduce just the time wasted, and you will drive better results. Something to think about. For more on this topic, check out my next video on why good employees quit. I go into comprehensive strategies on how to proactively create plans that allow your top talent to not even thinking about quitting. It's the next piece in the puzzle that will help you move your organization in the right direction.